30th day of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. The occupiers continue to destroy Ukrainian cities. They shot 54 strikes on Kharkiv with heavy artillery, missiles and tanks. Russian troops aimed at the hospital, where the humanitarian aid point was located. This hit took lives of 4 people. 7 were injured. The occupiers also shelled the airport, a supermarket and several residential areas of the city. Fires broke out in these locations. Barabashovo, the largest market in Eastern Europe, was on fire again. There was not a single day of this war in which Kharkiv, the country's second largest city, was not bombed by the occupiers. Most of the damaged buildings cannot be restored. They must be rebuilt, said the city mayor. The capital of Ukraine, the #1 target of Russian troops, stands strong against the enemy, so they destroy everything around. The occupiers fired on an oil depot near Kyiv. They also continue to destroy what is left of the village of Makariv, 50 kilometers away from Ukrainian capital. Bombs and artillery fire are dropped on the settlement that prevent the enemy from breaking into Kyiv. There are almost no civilians left in the village. They were forced to flee because of the shelling. Sumy region on the border with Russia became another battlefield and restrained the enemy's attack on Kyiv. The heroic city of Akhtirka is completely destroyed, but despite this, the enemy regularly drops bombs on it. Russian soldiers continue to brutally kill civilians in the region, according to the Sumy Regional Prosecutor's Office. Armed forces of the Russian Federation, using weapons prohibited by international law, shot dead 2 civilians in their own backyard in the village of Great Sambir in Konotop district. At the same time, Russian propaganda keeps repeating that their army fires precisely on military infrastructure and civilians are safe.
Сколько раз вы выстрелили? Не могу сказать, несколько раз.
Вы несколько раз выстрелили в мирного человека, который дома не жил, правильно? Можно еще раз этой фразой общей, да, еще раз, потому что...
Выстрелил человек, который за мной бежал.
These are the words of Mayor Alexander Krasnoyartsev, Putin's ace, one of the best pilots in Russia. On March the 5th, this plane was shot down over Chernihiv as it was dropping shells on residential areas in the city. For an hour and a half, the Russian army kept firing on the humanitarian corridor near Chernihiv, the city under the occupiers' blockade in the north of the country. Civilians with cars were waiting for permission to get to the city and pick up their relatives from there. However, as soon as the enemy drone detected crowds, they began firing artillery and then used tanks and mortars. Turkish journalists of the TRT World channel came under fire from the Russians. Andriy Zaplienko, a journalist with the Ukrainian channel 1+1, was also wounded by shrapnel. The number of victims is currently unknown. In the occupied cities of southern Ukraine, the Russians failed to win the support of the population. Kakhovka, Skadovsk, Kherson continue to go to peaceful rallies in protest of the Russian occupation, despite shelling, pressure and threats from the Russian military. The occupiers are constantly trying to bribe local authorities. For example, the mayor of the resort village of Kirilivka in the Zaporizhia region received a fresh offer to side with the enemy.
Сегодня к нам заехали гости, представители Российской Федерации, военные, представились комендатура города Мелитополя, военная комендатура города Мелитополя, естественно, предложили сотрудничать, на что мы, естественно, отказались.
The occupiers have already captured 14 mayors of Ukrainian cities due to their unwillingness to side with Russia. Deadly return home. Ukrainians returning to their homes after the liberation of the cities are warned that they may be mined by the occupiers. Several cases of mining of the dead bodies have already been recorded in locations where street fighting took place. Administration of State Guard of Ukraine warns. Remember, the enemy is insidious and uses all means to do harm. About 300 people. According to the witnesses, this is a number of dead after Russian plane bombing of the drama theater in Mariupol, Donetsk region. This was reported by the Mariupol City Council. I simply do not want to believe in this horror. I want to believe that everyone managed to escape. But the words of those inside the building at the time of the terrorist attack prove the opposite. The tragedy happened on March the 16th, but due to fierce fighting and constant air shelling of the city, rescuers could not reach the blockades. More than 1,000 people who lost their homes due to the shelling of the occupiers hid in the drama theater in the very center of Mariupol. The fact that many children stayed there was written in large letters on the ground on both sides of the building. Children. But this did not stop the enemy. Russian aircraft dropped a heavy bomb on the drama theater in the middle of the day when many people were not in the bomb shelter.
Под этими завалами, возможно, много людей, которые прятались от обстрелов. Авиаудар был прямо по центру драматического театра.
The occupiers also destroyed a children's rehabilitation center in Mariupol. This is a modern medical institution built just a year ago under support of the European Investment Bank. Mariupol has been under blockade since March the 1st. There are almost no undamaged houses left in the city. There is no electricity, water, gas, heating, medicines or food. Russian troops are constantly disrupting agreements on the delivery of humanitarian aid to Mariupol and shelling cars with civilians trying to leave the city. A damaged car with the inscription "Children of the Homenko family who managed to escape from Mariupol to the controlled territory of Ukraine" is just one example. According to the official data, as of March the 25th, at least 135 children have died in Ukraine since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion. Also, according to UNICEF, over the past month, about 4.3 million of Ukrainian children have been forced to flee their homes due to the war.
Where can you find a safe place if your city is under siege? Is it an usual residential building? No. In hospitals or schools?
Третья больница, Мариуполь. Роддом.
No. In a theater, the heart of your city. Far away from any military objects. Yes, that's a good idea. Is there any other way we could warn Russian pilots about kids hiding in the theater? Yes, capital letters, in Russian. That way we will definitely be safe. But only if murdering our children isn't their goal.